and welcome to the next Cookery Doodle Doo Cookalong. We are going to have a barbecue today because it's an absolutely beautiful day outside, and I decided to make my Halloumi Kebabs, and I thought they're the perfect thing to share with you. So I've quickly got set up and I'm going to show you how we're going to make something that we're just going to pop on the barbecue later on. The reason these are brilliant is because any kind of medium-sized local shop will have absolutely everything you need, and there's no flour, no eggs, no yeast, none of those things that's difficult to get hold of. At the moment. So the first thing we're going to do is make a marinade, and then we're going to prepare some vegetables, and I'll show you how to put it all together. Okay, so to make the marinade, we're going to start with some olive oil. And what I'm going to do is, in my mixing bowl here, I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Just in like that. And I've got half a lemon here, which I'm going to zest, and then I'm going to add the juice as well. So I'm just going to pop the zest straight in. Obviously it's much easier to zest a lemon if it's not already cut in half, but there we are. Katie's been at the gym again. I've got my lemon juicer here. Obviously any sort of lemon squeezer or juicer you've got will work just fine. I love this one. I use it all the time. I know the kids who cook with me enjoy using this as well. You just put it in and you give it a good old squeeze. And all that juice, you can see, whoops, coming out and squirting all over the place. Okay, so that's left us with very, very little juice left in that lemon. There we go. So I'm just going to put that to one side. I'm going to add some dried herbs as well. I've just got some mixed herbs here. You could use some oregano instead, or some thyme, rosemary, anything like that you've got. I'm going to use half a teaspoon. You may think you haven't got a half teaspoon measure, but I bet you have. I bet you've got one of these somewhere in the cupboard. So when recipes call for a teaspoon or a half teaspoon measure, then you've got these to hand, even if you don't have proper measuring spoons. Okay, so we're going to put in half a teaspoon of our mixed herbs. And the last thing I'm going to put in is a clove of garlic. So, I've got my garlic here. Now I'm going to use a sharp knife for this. You can obviously just use a cutlery knife if the children are helping you. We're just going to peel off the skin, and I think the way I showed you before was to get any sort of flat surface and just give it a squash. You can actually just use the garlic crusher itself and just give that a little push, and that just helps you get all that skin off there. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that papery skin. I'm going to put the garlic straight into the garlic crusher and give it a really good squeeze, just like we did with the lemon juice. Okay, and in that goes. Okay, I've got a fork here, so I'm just going to use that to give that a little scrape. Just give it a bit of a mix about. And just give it another squeeze. Make sure we've got all that lovely garlic juice out. Okay, and I'm just going to use my fork just to give that a bit of a mix. Before I finish there, I'm just going to add some salt and pepper as well. So a pinch of salt, a few grinds of pepper, and that's the marinade, very simply done. You could pop anything in there. You could pop some chicken in there, some fish, some lamb, anything you want to marinate for the barbecue. That's a lovely marinade to start with. Obviously, the more you want to marinate, the bigger you can make that. So you just add more olive oil, more lemon juice. But if you give it a really good whisk with a fork, you'll see that's actually going quite thick. That's much thicker than you would expect it to be when it's just 2 liquids of olive oil and lemon juice. And the reason it's gone thick like that is because the oil and the lemon juice have kind of mixed together and done something called emulsified, which basically means they get thicker together. So there we go. That is the marinade done. I'm just going to pop that to one side for a minute. because we're going to move on to the actual vegetables and cheese that we're going to put onto the kebabs. So I said it's halloumi kebabs. You've probably seen these in the supermarket. I don't know if you eat it regularly or not. I know a lot of kids love it. We call it squeaky cheese here, because when you bite into it, it does squeak a little bit. But this has got really long life. This has been in my fridge for about a month already, and the date on it is February 2021, and we're filming in April 2020. So this stuff, when it's sealed in its pack, if you keep it in the fridge, keeps a really, really long time. So next time you're at the supermarket, I really recommend just throwing a couple of these into your trolley, because it provides a meal when sometimes you can't get hold of anything else. It's a really, really good kind of standby to have in the house. So I'm just going to open this up. You can see there's a bit of liquid in there. It's stored in brine. So I'm just going to get a bowl here and some scissors, and I'm just going to cut it open. And I'm just going to drain out that liquid before I try and open it any further. That just makes it a bit easier. Now the way they make this, it's actually from Cyprus, this type of cheese. And it's always folded. So quite often you'll see people slicing it and they wonder why it breaks in half. The reason it breaks in half is it's always folded like that. So I much prefer to actually encourage that break there, because then at least we know what we're dealing with. I'm just going to get my knife again, and I'm just going to go in and slice right down through the middle. Now, I'm lucky this is a nice evenly sized pack. They're two quite good halves there. Sometimes you get a bigger one and a smaller one. If you do, just have a think about how you cut it up, because you don't have to do it exactly the way I'm going to do it now. What you want to end up with is some nice evenly sized cubes of cheese. Okay. To show you today, I'm just going to make 2 kebabs, so we only need half of this pack of halloumi. Obviously, if you're feeding a family, then absolutely go ahead and use the rest of the pack and some more ingredients. But I'm just going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to cut each half into thirds. Children can help you with this with a cutlery knife. It will go through perfectly easily. Okay, so I've got 6 cubes of halloumi there. That's enough for 2 kebabs. Okay, so I'm just going to pop those into the dressing, and they can just sit and start absorbing all of those flavours while we get the rest of the vegetables ready. So what I've got is some red pepper, I've got some courgette, and I've got some red onion. You can use any vegetables you want to that you could put on a kebab. So you could put some cherry tomatoes on here, you could put some mushrooms on here, anything you like really that you think will grill up nicely, or obviously bake in the oven. These kebabs will happily go in the oven as well. They don't have to be on the barbecue. Okay, so I'm just going to prepare. We've got 6 chunks of the halloumi, so we're going to have 6 chunks of our vegetables as well. So I'm just going to take some slices of this courgette. It's a really big one. Most courgettes won't be this big, so you can just obviously use your judgment, but what you want is chunks about the same size as your pieces of halloumi. So because these are so big, I'm just going to do those into thirds like that, and that will give us 6 nice chunks of our courgettes. They're going to go in as well. The red pepper, I'm just going to slice down like that. And again, what we want is 6 pieces of pepper. So I'm just going to do very similarly 6 chunks of pepper. They're going to go in. And the red onion, if you buy your red onion in those packs where you've got quite a few red onions in a net, then they're much, much smaller. You might want to do these into wedges, so make sure if you're doing that you leave the root of the onion intact. You can take off all these kind of spidery bits, but if you leave the root of the onion on, the whole wedge itself will hold together much better. This is just too big for that. If you can imagine a piece of red onion that big, that's just going to overwhelm the rest of the kebab. So we're just going to use a few of the sort of petals of this onion. So I'm just going to take off the top like that, and I'm just going to take half of the onion. We use red onion for all kinds of things, so none of these offcuts will go to waste. But for the kebabs themselves, we want some nice chunky bits. So, moving all that to one side, I'll just turn my board over. Use my cloth. Okay, so again, I'm just going to cut this into thirds, but I'm just going to keep some of the bigger bits of the red onion. The rest will probably all go into a salad or something to go with this later on. Okay, so that's ready to go in the marinade as well. And I'm just going to give that a mix around. Now, if you've got time, it would be great if this can sit in the marinade for at least 15 minutes, longer if you can. If you have got time to let that sit, then you could also very usefully get your kebab sticks ready as well. So I've got here some wooden bamboo skewers. If you don't have these, then possibly you've got some metal ones. Have a look in the drawer, you might have forgotten that you've got them. Or if you haven't, try and get creative. So we've got a big rosemary bush in the garden. It's got some really strong stems, and what you can do is just take the actual stem off the plant and cut it at an angle, so you can see I've got quite a good point there. And I'm literally just going to strip off the rosemary leaves, which obviously you can use in something else. But what you've got there is a very good kebab stick, created very easily. So I know actually quite a lot of people have got rosemary. So there we go, there's a different option for a kebab stick. But to use these, I'm just going to pop these to soak, these bamboo sticks, into some cold water for 15 minutes while the vegetables marinate, and that will just stop these burning on the barbecue. Okay, so I've got a baking sheet here. I've just put some cold water in, and I'm just going to soak those for 15 minutes. Okay, so the cheese and the vegetables have had about 15 minutes marinating. My bamboo skewers have had some time to soak, so I'm now going to show you how to assemble the kebabs. So, just give these one last turn in the marinade. Just make sure they're nice and coated. And then what you want to do is try and imagine your kebab, how it's going to look, because you don't want the same vegetables next to each other. When I use this combination of vegetables and when I'm teaching the children, I tend to do this recipe with older children, obviously because of the spikes on the skewers, or I get the grown-ups to help them. So please do help the children with this when we do it. But I like to think of the word chop. So I use courgette, halloumi, onion, and pepper, and then I repeat it. Courgette, halloumi, onion, pepper. And these are quite long skewers, so I'm going to repeat that 3 times. If your skewers are shorter, then obviously you can put less ingredients on and just do more of them. So courgette, courgette, halloumi, onion, pepper, and that's 1 skewer there. So I'm just going to get my skewer out of the water. And obviously this is a very sharp point, so children, if you're helping your grown-ups with this, you need to be very careful. But if you put something down on the board and push the skewer down into it, you're not actually going anywhere near your fingers, okay? So when that's gone right through, you can hold it at the edge and just give the skewer a little bit of wiggle through the courgette, and you should be able to push it right up. So there's the courgette, the halloumi, the onion, and the pepper. Obviously, if you're confident that you're not going to poke your fingers, you don't need to push it down onto the board. It's a bit quicker to do it this way, but much safer the other way. So there we go. You can carry on with that as many times as you want for as many skewers as you want to make. If you're making them in advance, you can put them back on the baking tray. Obviously take the water out first, pour any remaining marinade over them and just pop some cling film over them, and they can go in the fridge ready to cook on the barbecue later. If you're going to do them in the oven, you want to put them in a hot oven about 200 degrees, and they will take about 10-15 minutes. And at the end of this video, I will show you what one looks like when it's been cooked. Okay, hope you enjoy them. Okay, well, here they are. I just thought you'd like to see them actually cooking. I can't show you the picture of the chef because he hasn't got a top on, unfortunately, but there you go. Those are the kebabs we're about to devour. Hope you really enjoy them. Bye!